So, on the 19th of February 2021, Kevin Rudd spoke to the Australian Parliament in regards to the media monopoly, also known as Murdoch Press. The point of this whole thing was based on the petition, which went live at the start of October 2020 and had over 500,000 Aussie signatures in 28 days. The petition was for the Parliament to consider the establishment of a full royal commission with two heads of power. One, to examine the power of media monopolies in Australia, including the emerging monopolies of Google and Facebook. And second is to make new frameworks and legislations on how we can tackle issues like this in the correct manner. Now, the full video of this inquiry was posted on Mr. Rudd's YouTube channel, and I'll leave it linked in the description if you want to watch it. I do recommend it. It does go for an hour and 43 minutes, so it is a big watch. But if you have the time, I still urge you to watch it. If not, I will try my best to summarize the key points, in my opinion, that were the strongest talking points and potentially things that I thought were really well said, well versed, and what I think will have a standing impact. So let's just get straight into it. He starts off with the usual formalities and reference an incident whereby Peter Crellin actually defamed or kind of shat on the petition in a very interesting way. Basically, she went live on Sky News saying Mr. Rudd was hoarding, or the point of this petition was to hoard emails and details for his own political interest and political gains. Now, obviously this isn't possible since it's actually run by the Parliament, but she still went on there and said that. Good journaling. Anyway, this was this whole thing and she had to go back on Sky News due to what I assume is a legal obligation based on what Mr. Rudd's lawyer did, and actually apologized. And I watched the video again this morning of her apologizing and it was so good. Let me play it for you.
I know how these things work. This petition is a data harvesting exercise. Thanks to this petition and with Turnbull's connivance, just like his earlier work in bringing The Guardian to Australia, Rudd now has more than 500,000 email signatures, and you can be sure they'll be used to bombard people with hard left propaganda and urge them to boycott the Murdoch media. On November 11 last year, while commenting on former Prime Minister Kevin Rudd's petition to the House of Representatives for a royal commission to ensure a strong, diverse Australian news media, I said the petition was a data harvesting exercise and that Mr. Rudd now had more than 500,000 email addresses to use for his own political purposes. That was false. Mr. Rudd did not have access to the email addresses in the petition because they were the property of the Parliament. Now, he did not seek them, nor did he seek them. The misuse of the email addresses as claimed would have been a serious invasion of people's privacy. I apologise to Mr. Rudd for any damage caused by my false statement.
Can you feel the hatred pouring out of her apology? It's actually amazing. I mean, I want to give her a little bit of credit because she did that with a straight face, although I'm sure there were legal implications that were going to happen if she didn't do that. And in my mind, it actually sounded very scripted. But moving on, the whole purpose of a royal commission, Mr. Rudd gave a sum up in 7 points and 7 reasons why this should be established. 1. Monopoly in principle is just wrong. At the moment, 70% of printed press in Australia is run by the Murdoch gang. And this means 19 of the past federal and state elections had very strong political opinions and biases printed on papers across the nation. 2. Monopoly encourages corruption. The external effects reflect in Transparency International's. In 2013, Australia was ranked 7. And now we're ranked at 11, which means we're going down one spot roughly every 2 years. 3. Media monopolies destroy alternative news voices. During COVID, while Murdoch reins in all his cash and news, about 112 independent local news agencies actually shut. Now that means no local news for local rural towns. 4. Climate change. Murdoch himself, as seen through multiple interviews, is a climate-denying piece of work. 5. Over time, what this will bring about is political extremism. Because the mass amount of media is concentrated in a few very distinct opinions, what this can create is an echo chamber. The easiest way to explain this is a quote. Repeat a lie often enough and it becomes the truth. Who said that? Well, Nazi Joseph Goebbels, which actually did a lot of the marketing for Hitler's regime. I'm going to play a video that was actually played in the parliament as requested by Rudd.
The historic norm where a tiny elite controlled the people and crushed them, crushed their spirit. Yeah. And the World Economic Forum produced a video in 2016 in which this starry-eyed young person said, "Welcome to 2030. I own nothing, I have no privacy, and life has never been better." Well, it doesn't sound like a better life to me. It sounds horrible where we don't own any property.
No, well, that's right.
Who does own the property?
They've made this point, haven't they? This great reset. There'll be no money, no private property, no democracy. Some big outfit will take over all our debt. We'll have no debt, whatever, your credit cards, your bank loans, all that sort of stuff. But in return, you'll have no money, no private property, no democracy. Every key decision and what you do for a living, how much stuff you consume, as you've said, will be decided by a remote, unaccountable elite. This is not conspiracy. This is what these people are saying.
We are mad if we don't take heed, and we have to resist. It's unfortunate. I think we've all enjoyed decades of peace, but this is our World War III. It's just not the World War we expected. It's not a fighting war. It doesn't involve guns and rockets and things. It does involve taking control of our freedoms and grabbing them back from the people who are stealing them from us.
The point of all this is when you have this extreme view, regardless of side, it can resort to things such as what we just saw in January 2021, which was the storming of the Capitol building. Number 6, the Digital Media Bargaining Code does not address the fundamentals of the existing Murdoch monopoly, and the current actions entrench the existing powers. Number 7, the stewardship of taxpayers' dollars. I think for everyone, this will touch really close to home. Aussies now pay $40 million to Murdoch Media to broadcast women's sport and alternative sport. On top of that, ABC pay Murdoch Press a sum of money to broadcast women's soccer. Now, just to reiterate, that's on top of the 40 mil that our taxpayer money is already paying him. Now, that was the top 7 points that kind of had the base and foundation of what he was trying to do and why. Now, around 15 minutes in, he said something really interesting that addressed the whole room, and I want to play it here.
The truth is, and probably the uncomfortable truth in this building, is that everyone's frightened of Murdoch. They really are. There's a culture of fear across the country. And the fear is rationally based. They've seen many cases of individual political leaders and others who have had their characters assassinated through a systematic campaign by the Murdoch media. In other words, what the Murdoch mob are after is compliant politicians who won't rock the boat. In fact, even better if they provide them with taxpayer dollars to assist them on the way through. But for the rest of us, the unspoken word about the Murdoch media empire in this country and in this building, where I have spent many years of my life, is it's not in your personal political interests ever to go after Rupert Murdoch or Lachlan Murdoch, because they'll get you. And therefore, if we in 2021 have to deal with such a culture of fear in this building and across the nation, where the Murdoch media monopoly is the monopoly which dare not speak its name. We can't mention the M word because we know it invites retribution. That's just dead wrong for any democracy. And that's why I think having a properly empowered, independent Royal Commission to examine all these challenges of monopoly, both traditional and non-traditional, and make recommendations for our country's future is the right way to go. I thank you, Senators.
Then after that, the senators took turns asking any questions they did have to Rudd, some of which were quite interesting, actually. He was asked when he started or stopped becoming afraid of Murdoch and what that power could do. To which he answered, while he was in the parliament, he was extremely afraid of what Murdoch could do to destroy his reputation, or in which ways he could sway different politicians. And he even mentioned that he's had conversations with Malcolm Turnbull about this exact thing, and Turnbull shares the same fear and acknowledgement. I found something else he said super powerful, in which sometimes he's in Brisbane and walk around the street and he'll have people come up to him and it's like, hey, look, thank you so much for stepping up and talking about Murdoch Press and how we can stop doing this. I'd be really afraid to do that because I'm worried of what Murdoch can do to my business and my family. Now, the reason this really hit home is because these are true Aussie battlers. These are people in Australia like you and me that have small businesses just to fund their family and potentially something they're really passionate about. This isn't some millionaire going up against other millionaires. This is a multi-billionaire that everyday people are afraid of. That is just not right. Another question that was asked by a senator is, well, since we have Queensland, the state in which Murdoch owns 100% of print press, how has Labor government won 8 of the 9 last elections? To which he answered, whether people vote Conservative or Progressive is actually completely besides the point. The point is that monopoly as a principle is extremely wrong. And he went on to say that exact sentence multiple times. He also went on to say how bad it can be over the long term and what conversations it creates. The example imposed is climate change. Instead of having a conversation on how we can become carbon neutral or carbon negative in 2030, 2040, 2050, we're having conversations about if climate change is real. And that's obviously because Murdoch himself doesn't believe climate change. And of course, we've got the Gina Reinhardts of the world who don't want to. Now it's about to get juicy. Get ready for some trigger moments. Now, obviously, this is a tough topic and there's going to be some people insulted by this, especially the Murdoch politicians. Not that everyone insulted by this has to be a lib or a Murdoch-run journalist or whatever it may be. But with that being said, get ready for this.
The question is that, Senator, a piece of objective news reporting, or is that simply a piece of editorial opinion?
From having been in lockdown for 5 months last year, I think it's a very fair piece of journalism. Thank you, Chair.
So actually that's editorial opinion, and he's entitled to that. But no one in a month of Sundays in any rational debate would describe that as a piece of news reporting.
Thank you. Senator Carr.
Yes, Mr Rudd, you put forward, I think, 6 main reasons for why there should be a Royal Commission.
7 actually, Senator.
7.
Well, that was a pretty big crybaby moment. He actually went so far as to just get up and just walk away. Now, I wasn't sure whether that was just his time done, whether he was just pissed off and frustrated and had to go, or if he actually genuinely had a meeting to go to. I don't know. But I feel like if you have a point and it's quite intelligent and well-formed and well thought out, you don't need to use assertion and aggression and frustration to battle your side of the view. Instead, you can talk about it like a normal, functioning adult. Towards the end, Mr. Rudd actually explained what Murdoch really wants.
Murdoch's interests are threefold. 1, money. Tax minimisation as a result of that. 2, minimum regulation. That's his worldview. He's out there on the far right about everything, including climate. And 3, power and ideology to give it effect. That's what animates him. Why else would you control a whole bunch of print outlets in this country which are not generating much by way of additional revenue at this stage?
Another angry senator to just make this video even better. Senator Rennick seemed to be quite insulted by what Mr. Rudd was saying, and, well, that really showed. Let me insert what he said there.
So how can you say that Murdoch has a monopoly in this country when he owns no free-to-air networks? He has 1 in the top 10 news platforms. Is this inquiry not based on a lie?
Well, Senator, what I have said repeatedly is that Murdoch has a print monopoly.
That's right, and that's only a part of the news network.
Senator, I'm seeking to answer your question.
And a declining part of the news network.
Just let
Senator,
the
I'm
witness
seeking to answer
answer
your question. I have said consistently that Murdoch has a print monopoly in this country.
Have you ever leaked information while you were a politician about a colleague or an opinion to a News Corp journalist?
Well, Senator, if we're going to enter into the debate about all of our individual relationships with journalists over the last 10 or 20 years, it would make for a good session which would probably take us a few hours. So
we can just answer the question, simple yes or no would do.
Have you?
No, I haven't.
Never.
No.
You're unique in this building.
Yeah. Good for you. Good for you. Could you just answer the question? Sorry, I have one more question about regional Queensland, because I too am from regional Queensland. Are you prepared to apologise to the Queensland people for bringing in poker machines to the state of Queensland, and that has devastated regional towns?
Just to be clear, Mr. Rudd, you can answer this question if you like, of course, up to you, but it is well outside the terms of reference.
Firstly, I'd trust a Queensland Lib Party member to be quite assertive on this. Now, I'm not by any means saying the allegation is wrong or anything like that. I'm saying it's completely besides the point. So first, bro, chill. But second, relevance. We're talking about media monopolies, not what someone did in their political parliamentary time. And of course, coming to the end of this whole video, Rudd decides to finish with a mic dropping moment.
I wonder whether it would be good to hear from Rupert Murdoch himself, to hear from Lachlan Murdoch himself. They run the show. The executives you're going to have here soon don't really. And how the working editors respond to the instructions they're given. That would be a great exercise in transparency. Tough, but I leave that little challenge with you. Thank you so much, Senators.
That is the update for now. I honestly think the video was just so long because Kevin was talking so slow. But in his defense, in a political moment like that, words can be so misconstrued and you have to be very meticulous with what you say. So I completely understand that. I'm curious as to where all this will go in terms of what a royal commission will actually look like, the structure, the power, the people in those positions, and how that can actually be applied into today's day and age, not only in the print side of things, but also digitally, when you have this whole argument of censorship and free speech. So I'm very curious as to how this will be handled, but I'm excited at the same time that this is actually going places and it wasn't just a petition that was signed for fun. If you enjoyed this summary, leave a like to support and help spread this information to someone who might want to hear it. That is all from me today. Subscribe for more as always. Peace.